Ladies and gentlemen, I have the first of this afternoon's results for the local elections, and that is for the Pilkington Park ward. The number of votes cast in the election were as follows. Arif Aisha, Labour Party, 1,180. Russell Stewart Bernstein, the Conservative Party candidate, 1,827. Glyn Harvey Heath, Green Party, 195. Jaroslaw Rudomir Letwin, Liberal Democrats, 96. The total valid votes was 3,298. There were 36 rejected ballot papers, and I hereby declare that Russell Stewart Bernstein is duly elected for the Pilkington Park ward. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the result for the Besses ward. I, Jeff Little, returning officer for the Besses ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Cameron Fay, Green Party, 157. Stephen Morris, English Democrats Putting England First, 139. Lucy Catherine Smith, Labour and Conservative Party, 1,596. Philip Jeffrey Warmby, the Conservative Party candidate, 775. Michael James Williams, commonly known as Mike, Liberal Democrats, 82. The total valid votes was 2,749, and there were 15 rejected ballot papers. I hereby declare that Lucy Catherine Smith is duly elected for the Besses ward. Ladies and gentlemen, and I have results for two of the Radcliffe wards, starting with Radcliffe North. I, Jeff Little, returning officer for the Radcliffe North ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Baba Hamid Ibrahim, Labour Party, 704. Kingsley Richard Jones, Liberal Democrats, 98. Joanne Lancaster, commonly known as Jo, the Conservative Party candidate, 1,725. Glyn Stewart Marsden, Radcliffe First, 900. The total valid votes were 3,427. There were 22 rejected ballot papers, and I hereby declare that Joanne Lancaster is duly elected for the Radcliffe North ward. I will now give the results for Radcliffe West. I, Jeff Little, returning officer for the Radcliffe West ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Spencer Donnelly, Labour Party, 974. David Lewis, the Conservative Party candidate, 504. Gareth Edward Staples Jones, Radcliffe First, 1,134. Sarah Thorpe, Liberal Democrats, 46. The total number of valid votes was 2,658. There were 15 rejected ballot papers, and I hereby declare that Gareth Edwards Staples Jones is duly elected for the Radcliffe West ward. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have a batch of 4 ward results. The first one is for Radcliffe East. I, Jeff Little, returning officer for the Radcliffe East ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Carol Ann Birchmore, Radcliffe First, 1,551. Rhys Lewis Cathcart, Labour Party, 1,074. Rodney John Rue, Liberal Democrats, 86. Raymond Solomon, Conservative Party candidate, 542. There were a total number of valid votes was 3,253, and 14 ballot papers were rejected, and I hereby declare that Carol Ann Birchmore is duly elected for Radcliffe East ward. The next result is for Holyrood. I, Jeff Little, returning officer for the Holyrood ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Christopher Barron, the Conservative Party candidate, 515. Noel Bailey, Labour Party, 1,503. Peter Karati, Green Party, 96. Stephen David Wright, Liberal Democrats, 1,688. Total valid votes, 3,802. 29 votes were rejected, and I hereby declare that Stephen David Wright is duly elected for the Holyrood ward. Next is St Mary's. I, Jeff Little, returning officer for the St Mary's ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Samuel Richard Butler, commonly known as Sam, Labour Party, 1,744. Gareth David Lee Lloyd Johnson, Liberal Democrats, 1,400. Antonio Riu, the Conservative Party candidate, 476. Total valid votes were 3,620, and there were 28 rejected ballot papers, and I hereby declare that Samuel Richard Butler is duly elected for the St Mary's ward. And finally, in this batch, Sedgley. I, Jeff Little, returning officer for the Sedgley ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Carol Bernstein, the Conservative Party candidate, 1,400. Ugonna Idioga, Liberal Democrats, 159. Deborah Kathleen Quinn, commonly known as Debbie, Labour Party, 2,074. The total number of valid votes was 3,633. 31 ballot papers were rejected, and I hereby declare that Deborah Kathleen Quinn is duly elected for the Sedgley ward. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have 3 more ward results to announce. These are for Ramsbottom, Tottington and Elton. First of all, Ramsbottom, I, Jeff Little, returning officer for the Ramsbottom ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. John Thomas Pilkington, commonly known as Tom, Labour Party, 2,118. Jacob Lloyd, Liberal Democrats, 117. Ian Schofield, the Conservative Party candidate, 1,960. There were 4,195 total valid votes, and 30 ballot papers were rejected. And I hereby declare that John Thomas Pilkington is duly elected for the Ramsbottom ward. Next, Tottington. I, Jeff Little, returning officer for the Tottington ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for its candidate is as follows. Michael John Foran, Freedom Alliance, no lockdowns, no curfews, 35. Angela Margaret Graham, Green Party, 200. Sandra Lynn Lloyd Johnson, Liberal Democrats, 109. Lewis James McBrayer, the Conservative Party candidate, 2,294. William James Sellers, Labour Party, 949. The total valid votes was 3,587. 11 ballot papers were rejected, and I hereby declare that Lewis James McBrayer is duly elected for the Tottington ward. And finally, this batch, Elton. I, Jeff Little, returning officer for the Elton ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for its candidate is as follows. Jack Bernard Rydhard, the Conservative Party candidate, 1,949. Brian John Simpson, Liberal Democrats, 189. Susan Joy Southworth, Labour and Cooperative Party, 1,564. The total valid votes was 3,702. 18 votes were rejected, and I hereby declare that Jack Bernard Rydhard is duly elected for the Elton ward. Ladies and gentlemen, I have 2 wards to declare. Before I do, just to announce that there is a partial recount in the Red Vales ward, and that is beginning now. The 2 declarations are for the East Ward and the Unsworth Ward. Starting with East Ward, I, Jeff Little, Returning Officer for the East Ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Imrana Farouk, Labour Party, 1,490. Stephen Thomas Lewis, Liberal Democrats, 363. Shafqat Mahmood, commonly known as Mahmood Shah, the Conservative Party candidate, 915. Total valid votes were 2,768. 53 ballot papers were rejected, and I hereby declare that Imrana Farouk is duly elected for the East Ward. Next is Unsworth. I, Jeff Little, Returning Officer for the Unsworth Ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Nathan Cody Baroda, Labour Party, 1,794. Michael Hankey, Liberal Democrats, 103. Anton Slavic, the Conservative Party candidate, 1,550. The total valid votes were 3,447. 34 ballot papers were rejected, and I hereby declare that Nathan Cody Baroda is duly elected for the Unsworth Ward. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now going to announce the result for the Church Ward. I, Jeff Little, Returning Officer for the Church Ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Linda Valerie Gale Arthur, Liberal Democrats, 125. Jordan Alexander Lewis, the Conservative Party candidate, 2,311. Michelle Suzanne Sampson, Green Party, 239. Joshua Cameron Summons, commonly known as Josh, Labour Party and Labour and Cooperative Party, 1,141. There were a total of 3,816 valid votes. 32 ballot papers were rejected, and I therefore declare that Jordan Alexander Lewis is duly elected for the Church Ward. If I can now just give you a brief update on where we are in all wards. We are still counting the 2 by-election wards of North Manor and Moorside, and we are conducting a partial recount in Red Vales. Those are the remaining 3 results to come. Thank you. Apologies, this is now the formal result for Red Vales. I, Jeff Little, returning officer for the Red Vales ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Shabaz Mahood Arif, the Conservative Party candidate, 1,491. Andrew Mark Entwistle, Liberal Democrats, 183. Shahina Haroon, Labour Party, 1,664. Paul Johnston, Green Party, 296. There were 41 rejected ballot papers, and I hereby declare that Shahina Haroon, Labour Party, is elected for the Red Vales ward. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the penultimate result of the night for the North Manor ward. I, Jeff Little, returning officer for the North Manor ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Ewan James Arthur, Liberal Democrats, 310. Roger Charles Arthur Brown, the Conservative Party candidate, 2,421. Helen Clark, Labour Party, 1,345. Liam James Dean, the Conservative Party candidate, 2,194. Mary Christine Heath, the Green Party, 491. Ewan David Saunders, Labour Party, 1,048. The total number of valid votes was 7,809. The total number of ballot papers rejected was 651. 2 because the voter had identified themselves on the paper, and 649 for being unmarked or wholly void for uncertainty. And I hereby declare that Roger Charles Arthur Brown, the Conservative Party, and Liam James Dean, the Conservative Party, are both elected for the North Manor ward. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the formal and final declaration of the night for the Moorside ward. I, Jeff Little, returning officer of the Moorside ward, give notice that the total number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Charlotte Caroline Allen, commonly known as Charlie, Green Party, 282. Kieran Michael Bowles, Labour Party, 1,655. David Henry Foss, Liberal Democrats, 132. Victor Cromwell Hagan, Independent, 173. Jehuan Park, the Conservative Party candidate, 984. Kevin Eric Peel, Labour Party, 1,434. There were 5,513 valid votes and 897 rejected papers, and I hereby declare that Kieran Michael Bowles and Kevin Eric Peel are duly elected as councillors for the Moorside ward. Many thanks. And that completes tonight's count. Thank you.